Welcome back to another episode of Forbidden Depths. I'm your host, Queen Frostbitten, and we're here today to get down, dirty, and sultry by staying open, educated, consensual, and safe. If you're returning, welcome back to another episode. Thanks for supporting the channel and its growth. If, of course, you're new here, make sure you follow, like, and subscribe, because one taste will never be enough. Awesome. So thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Forbidden Depths today. Today we have an amazing guest. I want to let her go ahead and introduce herself, and then we'll talk about her links a little.
Hi, everybody. I'm Leah Gotti. I'm also Reagan. I have a Twitter and Instagram at Love Leah Gotti, and my TikTok is Love Reagan Lee.
Awesome. So go on over to Twitter. She conveniently has everything located in her bio, all the links that you will ever need. And is this your only Twitter account?
I have another Twitter account, but I'm locked out of it.
Okay.
So I'm only active on this Twitter account that I had mentioned.
Okay, great. Okay, so currently this is the only one that she has up and going. So anybody else obviously is just imitation accounts. So this is where you need to be directing your time and efforts.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So Leah, can you go ahead and kind of tell us about who you are? Like, what do you do?
So I've been in the adult industry since 2016. Currently, I'm just shooting my own content and some girl with selected mainstream companies. But I have experience in all platforms, fetish work. I've done boy girl, I've done all things. So that's what I pretty much do now.
Awesome. And it says that you are self-booking. So if any companies are watching, listening, you can contact her for booking, correct, Leah?
Yes. My DMs are open. My email is open.
Yes. Awesome. Okay, so whenever you originally got into the adult world, kind of how did you get there? What made you be interested?
It was honestly just I ran into it. I just was hosting parties with a Dallas media group basically, and the owner of a Crowne Plaza asked if I'd be down to do an after party, and it was for Exotica. I had no clue what that was, and I just kind of was like, yeah, hell yeah. And they're like, okay, well, wear something sexy. And me and my friend just went to the expo with the DJ, and as just a funny gesture, they put me and my two friends into the finals round of Miss Exotica competition. And I crowd surfed and I won. And it was just like, after that, people were like, oh, you need to do this. Oh, you need to do that. I met this guy named Dean, and he introduced me to FTV girls. And then from there, I had got introduced to my agent, and then just snowball effect.
Okay.
Yeah. I was in college. Yeah.
So you were in college and you just kind of knew someone, and it just kind of went from there.
I just left all my shit in college and then went to LA. I was like, I need that money right now.
Right? Oh my. So what was your major?
Biology, and I was also going to be trying a little bit of engineering.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So amazing, gorgeous, and intelligent. You striking them all.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. So I know that the inspiration was kind of a spur of the moment kind of thing. Like you were just introduced and then you're like, fuck yeah, this is gonna be some money. So you kind of jumped into it. Was there any kind of prior knowledge that you had going in, or was it just you learning as you went?
No, honestly, I just like when I was growing up, I went through some really weird things. I think I was over sexualized, so I think I was just naturally like promiscuous, like attention. You know, I could feed off of attention pretty well, and I liked to be the center of attention because I didn't get that much attention. So whenever I came in, it was just like, ooh, I can do this. I'm good at
Right.
this.
Yeah.
And I just kind of like, it was just really easy. I didn't have to try too hard. I always had fun. Like I was
Mhm.
never having to do drugs to do my job. You know,
Right.
it was
Right.
just, it was, it was really easy. Like just
Mhm.
to flow into it. It was exciting for me. I was like,
Yeah.
ooh, yeah, like let's do this. You know, like
Right.
I hadn't had much experience like with like fetishes or king, like anything like
Mhm.
that. So whenever I got to do my solo stuff, that was probably I did a lot of solo work before I even did any girl work.
Mhm.
So I really got to explore my own body a lot,
Yeah.
and I think that made me even feel like more powerful.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I came
Yeah.
in, it was super easy, super fun, and it just kind of like I was like, this is lit. Like
Right.
yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. So,
Very
whenever
nice.
you got started, tell me about the strengths you feel helped you strive in the environment.
I just really feel like I had to be super strong my whole life, and I
Mhm.
never really had like a support system of my own. So
Right.
whenever I came into the industry, honestly, like my agent, he was almost like a father figure to me. You know,
Mhm.
we butted heads a lot, but he would always try and give me like solid advice, and I really took it to heart. And
Right.
I feel like although I was overworked and stuff, like he did have my best interest at heart overall. And I think that made a big difference. Like, because I was finding support within the industry. And then, like, when I
Mhm.
would meet producers and stuff, like, for instance, Jackie St. James, like, she just, like, took me under her wing. She always nurtured me,
Mhm.
always made sure I was safe. Like, those people, those solid few, that's what really made it worth something for me. Like,
Right.
I don't want to leave that. I didn't want to leave that. I was just like, this is good. This is where I am
Yeah.
supposed to be type of feeling.
Right. Yeah, 100%. And, whenever you find those people that kind of help you in a positive way, it does make you feel better about what you're
Yeah.
doing. You feel like you're safe in an environment where you can grow, and not everybody has that. You know what I mean?
Especially like I was being ostracized, like I didn't say that right, ostracized by my
Yeah.
family, like from the beginning, like even whenever I was in college, because I had
Mhm.
spoke up against abuse that had happened between me and my stepfather. So like
Mhm.
whenever I was there, and I was doing that, it was even worse. So like I really, really had no one. Like it was
Right.
like a lonely little girl, that's pretty much what
Yeah.
it was. So thank God for those people, literally, because I don't know
Yeah.
where I'd be.
Right. So, whenever you're kind of talking about your support system, do you have anyone outside of the industry that you still have contact with and they support you in your decisions?
I think now my grandmother and I have had conversations that have
Mhm.
brought her closer into understanding like, this is the choice I made. I feel
Right.
powerful with what I'm doing. Like I
Yeah.
have two beautiful children and I'm able to be a stay-at-home mom. I'm able to like do all the things that I wish I could do whenever I was
Right.
a child. And
Yeah.
she's began to respect what I do. Like even this
Right.
morning, I was on the phone with her, telling her about what's going on. She's like, "Get on, baby." So
Mhm.
I didn't used to have that, but now I have that. I have a
Good.
few people now outside, especially my husband and his father. They
Mhm.
are just like so solid for me.
Yeah.
But it did take work.
Right.
Obviously, it
Oh,
takes
yeah.
time for people to understand. It's especially if they're not from the industry, like why you're
Mhm.
doing this.
Yeah, or at least empathize. Most people can't even do that. They can't even empathize. Be like, "Well, it's not for me, but I'm gonna support you in your decision." Like, that's really
Exactly.
hard for some people.
Yeah, my grandmother said, she's been saying it to people like it wasn't the choice that we would have made for her, but
Mhm.
that's what she chose to do.
Right.
And we're proud of her for what she is doing because I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not hurting anyone
Yeah.
at all.
Right.
In fact, I'm bringing people pleasure. I'm helping people feel good. So,
Yes. And the majority of people I talk to, they have some kind of power that comes from it, whether they are someone that's involved in the scene or they are someone that takes from the scene, like a client. They're being provided some kind of empowerment. Like you feel secure in yourself, you love yourself more.
yes.
And then the person that's receiving this, the client, the viewer, whatever, they are getting through something that they're going through by using that content. Like maybe they had a rough day at work. Maybe they had a fight with a family member. Maybe they don't have anyone in their life that they can turn to, and they use that as an outlet. Like it is a
Yes.
productive environment.
And it's fun. Like if
Yeah.
you, especially like I'm very much to where I set boundaries on my page. I'm not,
Mhm.
I run all my accounts on my own. So whenever
Right.
people are messaging me, like I don't sex, I don't do dick
Mhm.
ratings or anything like that because that's just not what I feel comfortable doing. And I
Right.
let my fans know that, right? And they
Yeah.
respect that. And we have real conversations. I remember important events for them. They remember important
Yeah.
events for me. We have
Right.
good friendship, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
and I can call and talk to them, you know, and we have support each other. Like your
Right.
fans almost become your friends over
Yes.
time. And I really value some of those relationships with my fans more than I had valued a lot. Like I've had fans longer than most of my friends, you know,
Yeah.
that continuously are showing me love, continuously checking on me, not just
Right.
checking on me, but checking on my husband, checking on my children, sending gifts for everyone in my family, you know?
Mhm.
And I value that so much. Like that is
Yeah.
so like important. Like if I were to leave, when I did leave, right? Because I had a 5-year hiatus because shit just got shaky for me. I
Right.
was alone. I literally was alone. I hid from social media. I didn't have any friends. I didn't
Mhm.
have literally nobody who understood me. I was
Right.
going to churches, trying to ask God for forgiveness. You know, since then I've
Right.
denounced that. You know, I don't feel that's right for me personally.
Right.
Um, but I was surrounded by people who made me feel like I was shit, absolute shit. Like I was
Yeah.
not worth a fucking thing because of those things I made. Like to the point where I
Right.
would be dressing so modestly because I was afraid if somebody seen me like with
Mhm.
cleavage or something like that, they'd be like, "Oh, look at that whore," you know?
Mhm.
But fuck that.
Right.
I am a whore, bitch. Like,
Yeah.
uh, you know, like, but it took me a long fucking time to feel that way again. Like when I
Yeah.
left, it was a lot. Like it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I think you for people could forget that when we get in the industry, you know, we get comfortable with our position. If you don't really have
Mhm.
like any heat coming to you, you might not be empathetic to anyone who's going through some shit. And that's where
Exactly.
the problem goes, is because
Yeah.
once we start being like, oh, this is a competition, I'm that bitch, like I fuck them, like I'm not about to say anything because I don't
Mhm.
want my career to be messed up. That's why the shit keeps happening, you know? We
Right.
keep fucking up. We keep not calling people out. We keep not
Mhm.
standing together. We keep
And
not
people think
being
it's not their
friends.
problem because it's
It
not
is
happening to
though.
them.
Until it happens to them. Until it
Yeah.
fucking happens to them. And then they're
Yeah.
gonna be like, oh, woe me. And then we're gonna be like,
Mhm.
we're gonna still care because we're good people, but
Right.
be like, we were trying to tell you this the whole time, baby. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and
100%. So
yeah.
that kind of leads me to one of the questions that I have for you today. I know that we had discussed a little bit, and I've been following your page. I started retweeting a lot of stuff on your Twitter. Um, I'd noticed there's been so many interactions where people have had their boundaries pushed. They've had some kind of, either they were molested, groped, or something, and they were
Yeah.
afraid to talk about it because people don't want to work with you if you talk about it. That is not always the case. Those good companies, they're going to still work with you. Maybe the trashier companies that don't want stuff getting out because they feel like, oh, well, this person's gonna say something if I rape them or something, or force their boundaries. But like the good companies are still going to work with you, right?
Yeah,
The only
I
ones
think
you're
the
going to
most
lose are the
important
crappy companies.
I think it's really important to see and notice the silence from certain people. That
Yeah.
speaks louder. The silence and the not supporting, that speaks.
Yeah.
That's the dangerous people. The people
Yes.
who are so fucking worried about any kind of negativity coming to their brand,
Mm-hmm.
they're worried for a reason. Probably the shit's happening on their scenes. The shit's happening.
Yes.
And they want to be on their P's and Q's and they don't want any heat coming to them, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but it's coming
Yeah.
regardless.
And I think that's a discussion that everyone needs to have. Like people need to be
Exactly.
aware. People need to be safe.
Exactly.
And you don't always hear these big stories about, oh, well, this person got attacked, or this person told them that they didn't want to do anal and then they ended up being forced into anal in the middle of the scene. There are occurrences where that shit happens. People
There
get
is.
forced, their boundaries get pushed, and it's not a good thing. It is not okay.
No.
I remember I've been following a porn star for quite a while now. And she had an audio feed that she had recorded. Thank God she had recorded her audio feed with this producer that had been essentially pushing her boundary. She said, I don't want to do this. And then mid-scene, he's like, well, I'll give you extra money if you do it. And then she, like most people, okay, well, I guess I'll do it.
She fawned.
Yeah. So she kind of felt like she was forced, which is what some of these fucking people do whenever they're predators. They wait until the moment to try to force you into shit. And she's like, fine, yeah, I'll do it. And she recorded the after shit, whenever he's like, oh yeah, well, I decided I'm not going to use that content, so I'm not going to pay you for it. Like, it was so fucking shitty. But I'm so thankful that she literally had that shit recorded. So it wasn't one of those situations where, oh, well, she's just making that up. Because she wasn't making it up. Nobody chooses to make up that shit.
No, that's crazy. It just goes back to trauma in general.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like, you've heard of fight or flight, but there's
Mm-hmm.
also fawn and freeze. Fawning
Mm-hmm.
is when you're in a situation and you're just so scared that you just go along with it because
Yeah.
you don't know what to do. You're
Right.
like, okay, because you're in your most vulnerable state right there.
Mm-hmm.
If you say no, what's going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
You know, is he going to fuck me harder and try to hurt me because I don't let him do that?
Mm-hmm.
Or is he really going to give me the money? I really do need that money right now. Okay, well,
Right.
maybe I'll do it. And then they just do it, you know?
Yeah.
And that's just such a fucked up position to be in. I had so many girls telling me huge companies and the directors being okay with it. Kind of
Mm-hmm.
I've had males come forward and confess that the directors want them to try and push the boundaries, to try and get their first anal without paying for it. Try and
Yeah.
get them to do this something so crazy so the video can go viral for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's disgusting.
Yes.
Literally. It is so disgusting.
100%. Because there should always be the negotiations that takes place first, and you shouldn't push outside of that shit. Like, if you want to take a break and renegotiate, cool, but not like mid-scene, like, oh, let me see if I can force this on this person. Like, that's so shitty. Like,
I think
on so many
like
levels.
on Brazzers sets, this is like I've said it in my last interview, there's literally gold. When you go on a Brazzers set, you sit down at the table before anybody gets naked, or anybody
Mm-hmm.
does anything, and you go on a checklist, what you're okay with, what you're not okay with, right?
Right.
Throughout the whole day, you have your assistant and someone there who is going to be vouching for you, protecting you, so that does nothing on your list does like go wrong, right?
Right.
At the end, you go and you sit down with the person who took the footage, and they ask you, did this happen? Did this happen? Did this happen? Were you on drugs? This, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's always after. I've been getting messages of girls saying that the people are trying to make them sign their release forms at the beginning, their consent forms at the beginning, you know? So
Yeah.
what happens if they do sign that and then in their video something happens that they didn't consent to? They have the document saying, oh, she did consent to that.
Yeah.
And it's never supposed to be that way. Or they might make up a reason like, oh, I have to go somewhere, so I need you to sign this right now.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck you. Literally, if
Mm-hmm.
anyone says that to you, fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not signing that. I'm leaving. I don't feel
Right.
safe here.
Yes.
If you want me to say that I'm going to consent to just going into this blindly, fuck you. You don't have my best interest at heart. I cannot work for you.
Right.
And I think girls get scared, right? I was notorious for walking off a set. If I had shot with a company
Mm-hmm.
one time, and I went back to shoot with them, and this company, the first time I shot with them, had me do like 20 looks, 20 photo sets, 20 videos, bam, 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 as many as they could fit in, right? The pictures were ugly. I hated them. It was, I just hated it. I felt so tired, so wore down, and they only paid me like $1,200, right? That's for one scene, but they got 20. So the next time I went to go shoot with this scene, I'm sitting in hair and makeup. My hair and makeup is complete. The guy comes down. He's like, so we're going to be doing 12 here, 12 there. I said, no, the fuck I'm not. I was like, if you want to pay me more, I'll do that. I said, I'm doing I'll do 4 clips and 4 video sets for the price I'm getting paid.
Right.
And he refused to do that. So I called my boyfriend. I said, come pick me up.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid. Like, you want to call my agent? Call my agent. I'll tell my
Right.
agent right now. I'm not doing that shit. And I did. And he said,
Right.
okay. I said, I'm never shooting for a company like that again. I am
Yeah.
not a fast food line. I'm not going to sit here and go outfit after outfit. I'm not going to fuck myself after fucking myself, after fucking myself, after fucking myself, and not
Right.
horny, not wet. I'm not going to piss for you 100 times. Like, I don't want to do
Mhm.
that. That's not who I feel like I am, you
Right.
know? And companies, they're like, oh, we paid her for her time. So no, you paid for the scene. The
Mhm.
time it takes to make that one scene is on you. I'm here
Right.
to do one act. That's what you're paying. That's what they're paying for. They're paying for the act of sex and stills. However
Mhm.
long in between that takes, that's on them. And that's the thing. Like, I even will add up. Like, if I'm going to be on a set and I know that they're going to have me there for 12 hours, you're going to pay me more, because I'm not going to sit
Right.
here for 12 fucking hours for $1,000 when I could go work for someone like Jackie St. James, and
Mhm.
I'm in and out in less than an hour, and I get that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not doing that. Like, it's wrong that companies continue to try and keep people there. They aren't paying hourly rates. They're paying flat
Mhm.
rates. And then they have them there
Mhm.
for fucking half the day. And
Yeah.
they're tired. They're this, they're that, like, no, that's not it. That's why it's cool that we have the OnlyFans now. We can do our own
Mhm.
content collabs, and we know how
Yeah.
much money those videos make. And
Mhm.
we can see, like, you're fucking me over. You're paying
Yeah.
me significantly less than the value of work I'm doing. And
Yes.
that's just what, like, new girls are not going to say anything. I got a message from a
Mhm.
girl that said that she was supposed to be paid $1,000 for 13 clips. Okay? 13 clips. They ended up only
Damn.
paying her $375. And they didn't even give her the content. She drove 6 hours one way to go shoot there. So what? They paid for her gas. And then they
Holy
didn't even
hell.
give her the content that she wanted, you know? And she's new. So she just was like,
Yeah.
okay, like, I guess, she doesn't have anyone who's going to be having her back. She doesn't really
Right.
have that big of a following. So they don't give a
Holy
fuck if she
fuck.
goes to Twitter and says, this company did this,
Mhm.
because what, 40 people are going to see it? Like, they don't care,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
That's why I felt like it was important for me to say something, because I do have a big platform,
Right.
I am very stubborn, and I don't give a fuck. I'm not scared. I'll say shit.
Right.
And if nobody else is going to defend them, I'll defend them, because I'm
Right.
tired of watching girls get hurt and men get hurt
Mhm.
because people want money. Like, we
Yeah.
all want money. That's why we're here. So it shouldn't be
Yeah.
expense at someone's safety.
For sure. That, like, it all goes back to kind of them seeing you as a thing and not a human.
An
They look
object.
at you. Yeah. They look at you like you're some kind of dehumanized toy that they can just do whatever the fuck they want with. Like, no, there are human needs. Like, that is what most people don't understand. And I know that anytime I'm filming anything, or anytime that I'm doing anything with anyone, I'm stopping to check, are you okay? Is everything good? And then at the end, we do aftercare. Why? Because it's extremely important. That's the
Yes.
time where you're doing after negotiations, where you're like, did you like this? Was this okay? Did this make you feel uncomfortable? Could I have done anything else to help you? Because those things are important. We're not fucking toys. We are fucking humans.
Those are periods of learning. What
Yeah.
can I do better on my next set?
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would recommend my company to implement to make you feel safer?
Mhm.
Not, okay, fuck him. Here's your money. Bye. Like,
Yeah.
that's how the dangerous stuff happens.
Yeah.
We're not checking in. We're not saying those things that you're saying. Like, what you mean?
Mhm.
Am I uncomfortable? Did I offend you in any way?
Right. And it can
Just
happen
little
on any
things.
side. Like, it's not just the female side or not just the male side. It can happen on both sides. People can get pressured on both sides. Just like you were talking a minute ago, how some directors were kind of pushing people to, like, push boundaries.
Yeah,
There should never
enforcing,
be pushing boundaries. It's
pushing
different if it's like a
boundaries,
CNC. That's
hiring people who are very violent to do things,
yeah.
you know?
People that have a track record for abuse. Oh my goodness. I've been seeing that so much lately. They're like, oh, well, someone had talked about it, but it doesn't mean a whole lot because it wasn't, like, on record. It was just rumor. It still fucking
Or
matters.
or their assumption was this happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah, they're
so
like,
obviously your story's not that bad because y'all are both victims.
mm-hmm. It gets, oh my goodness. It's like classic narcissism. And it's because,
Gaslighting.
yes, and gaslighting. It's because they want to make so much fucking money. They want to make as much as they can, as quick as they can. And they don't care about who they hurt in the meantime. Like, I remember years ago, whenever I first got into any kind of adult entertainment, I had seen this post about this woman. She was talking about how she went and did this 8-hour scene. And by the time she paid for all her travel expenses, she paid for her rooming and shit. And a full 8-hour day, she ended up getting paid $200.
That's why I'd like to
Like,
say to anybody who's new in the industry, and if you're traveling anywhere for a shoot, you upcharge a travel fee. You look
mhm,
at what the average rate for a flight round trip is, and you add that on.
yep.
Whenever I go shoot for a company, if I don't have a trip planned already that I know I'm going to
Mhm,
be making a buku, you know, like
right.
I'm booked every day, you're paying me my rate plus $500 so I can get a hotel.
Yeah.
Or I'll send you my receipt and you'll reimburse me. And half the time when you ask for that, they'll give it to you because they
Yeah.
know. And if you have an agent, your agent's probably asking for that and they're just not giving it to you and they're keeping it. So
Mhm,
make sure that you know you're checking, you're asking for production like
yeah.
how much did I get paid? And if this is some stuff that started happening to me, I had like whenever I was back in the day and I had some stuff, production wasn't giving me my check directly. They were
Mm,
giving it to someone else to divvy out to me, right? And the check
mhm,
would be wrote from my agent to me. So I had no really idea
right.
what I was making. It was what he said I was making. And then,
Right.
you know, you might find out later on down the road that your money was being a little bit knocked down to put in
Yeah.
somebody else's pocket.
Yeah. And it's one of those things whenever they skim off the top, they take a little bit and over time it is a snowball effect. They see how much
Yeah.
they can take without you noticing. But if you know how much you got paid and you know all that shit, then you don't have to worry about it. That's why it is good to have a good support system, but it's also good for you to know the ins and the outs so you can take care of yourself just in case.
And I also
Right.
think it's important to know that it's okay to be independent, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If you need an
Yeah.
agent at first to get your feet in the water, you know, you don't sign a contract that's for like over 2 years. Try and get it for
Mm-hmm.
6 months because the average porn star career is like 6 to 8 months. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a year in media, a year in digital time, that's a long time,
Yeah.
you know, to be signed to somebody. So if you're approaching a new agency or if you're in and you want to renegotiate your terms, you would try and get it for shorter because
Yeah.
once you meet production, once you meet people, you're there, you're networking. If you're going on set and you're making real connections and you're doing a job, people remember your name. They'll want to book you. So when you reach
Mm-hmm.
out and you say, "Hey, I'm available these days. Do you have anything for me?" And they'll be like, yeah, because that's exactly what the agents are doing. The only thing the agents are doing is sending out emails to
Yeah.
all the people and saying, I have this girl and she's available these days. There's nothing that stops you from being able to research,
Mm-hmm.
compile your list of emails, compile a list of companies that you'd like to work with, reach out to them via DM, reach out to them via email, maybe call
Mm-hmm.
them, maybe schedule a go see and see if you can get a project strictly made for you, you know?
Right.
There's so many cool things. My agent was so good about that. That's why I think it's so easy for me to do it by myself now because he taught
Mm-hmm.
me a lot. He was
Yeah.
always having me going and talking with doing like the go sees, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Always, always having us like interact and go here and go there. And like he
Right.
made it a point that we moved as a group and that we were here to protect each other. You know, unfortunately, some people don't really take that part into consideration. Like, oh, we're a family, we're an
Right.
agency, we're gonna protect each other, we're gonna be good. But
Right.
sometimes it turns into a competition. Sometimes agent
Mm-hmm.
gets favorites, and then sometimes some girls feel left out. So then it becomes petty, and
Right.
then that's that snowball effect of toxic behavior to where people
Yeah.
don't want to support each other, to where no one's gonna say anything because they don't want any conflict coming from their side because they want to be the
Mm-hmm.
good girl, you know?
Mm-hmm. They think that it's going to
Yeah.
get them more bookings and they're going to cast these other people out because they're more vocal. Well, you don't want to be involved with those people that don't want you to be vocal anyway, because if it's a positive experience, you're going to be like, fuck yeah, these are good people to work with. If it's a negative one, then, but I mean, if it was a negative experience, people should hear about it anyway. And if they don't want that out, then they shouldn't fucking do it.
Right. And it's crazy because like not everybody feels the same. Like this whole situation has really showed me like I thought I had some friends, some real true friends, right? And their silence in this has really showed me what it is,
Right.
people that I've had over for my family holidays, not
Yeah.
saying anything, not
Right.
even reaching out to check on me,
Yeah.
even in this whole situation, I had a falling out with one of my previous friends, and it made me feel like I need to just reach out to her and let her know, look, I'm always sending you love. I just want you to know, like, I'm here for you. Even if we're not
Right.
on speaking terms right now, even if we're not BFFs, you know what I mean? If
Right.
you need anything ever, I'm here. And it's just as simple as that. Like, just letting them know that you're here. We might not be able to be best friends because we don't like really line up with our morals or whatever like that,
Right.
or we might just have a little bit too much conflict in our day-to-day interactions. But
Right.
know that I love you, know that I support you, and if anything ever happens to you, I'm fucking fighting for you type of feel.
Yeah, because it's one of those things that you can have a different outlook, you can have a different opinion, you can have differences with someone and not see everything like they do, but still care about them. It's not one of those things that you have to cast somebody completely aside just because you don't agree with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And sometimes it's easier just to avoid conflict, right? But uncomfortability brings growth. Those conversations that
Yes.
make you feel kind of icky usually are the best conversations to be having, you know? To
Yes.
continue to pretend like everything is kosher on your end when people who were close to you know that it's not. It we know how damaging that is internally to compartmentalize things,
Yes.
to pretend like nothing's happening,
Yes.
as so many girls that have held shit in for years, so many men who've held shit in for years, and then they saw this
Yeah.
as an opportunity to be safe and feel comfortable enough to say it, and I feel like should always be that way. Everybody should always feel
Yes.
comfortable enough to talk about anything that's happening in their life,
And
regardless
they
if it's
shouldn't feel
good
like
or
their whole
bad,
life is going to be torn apart by it.
or
Like,
their
oh my
livelihoods at
goodness.
stake if they say anything,
Yeah. And I mean, that happens in just regular life, not even talking about sex work, just like regular actress. Those people, they get molested too.
Yes.
They have terrible things happen to them on set. I remember in the media a little while back, Terry Crews came out and there was a grown ass man that had groped him and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, oh, well, no one's going to believe you. You're this big, strong man. Like, if you are a fucking predator like that, you should never be involved with people to begin with. Like, you shouldn't be.
Yeah, literally, that's just disgusting. And even happening, like, I've worked lots of jobs. So like my 5-year hiatus, I was a bartender. I worked at restaurants, and there's a lot of sexual abuse that happens inside of those fields. Every
Yes.
field, right? Just the difference is if you sexually assault somebody at a workplace that's a civil, like, like a normal one, that shit does not fly.
Yeah.
That person will be in jail. That person will be fined,
Yes.
Unfortunately, they're like, they might have wanted that. They probably are
Yeah.
okay with that, like what my
Yeah.
grandma said to me this morning on the phone. She said, well, unfortunately, in that field, you just have to deal with that. And I was like, well, no, unfortunately, in
Yeah,
this field,
no.
grandma, it's all about consent. And that's where
Yes.
it's being lost. People
Yes.
are forgetting that this is powerful. We're taking our power over our body here. This is not for
Yes.
people to be preying on us because we're saying we're okay with this,
Right.
And that's the sad thing. If we were to go to court, right, and we were to be sitting in front of a juror of people who are not sex workers, do you think that they would be able to be like on somebody else's side or not biased from their morally, like what their morals are?
Yeah. I don't feel like that they would be able to be unbiased. I don't feel like they would be able to empathize because one, they don't know what it's like. Two, the stigma that surrounds it. So it's like they think, oh, well, this person wanted it. Why would they be doing this if they didn't?
Right.
And then three, it's like the personal growth that we were just talking about, they haven't had that because they haven't needed
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
See, whenever it comes to our situation, when it comes to consent above all, anybody that's truly into BDSM or any kind of adult work and they take pride in it, 100%, that is at the top of the list. Consent is at the top of the list. They
You
make
have to
sure
trust what they're
everybody,
doing to you. You have to be
yes,
able to trust that.
yes, 100%. And if you don't, then there needs to be renegotiations. We need to re-talk about it. Like, okay, you look kind of a little uncomfortable. What can I do to help you? And you're not going to mess something up. You're not going to mess the scene up. And if you fucking do, then oh fucking well,
Literally, let me
because
say,
that conversation needs to be had.
right. I've worked with lots of companies for fetish work, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've had a company that has put nipple clamps on me, right? And just
Mm-hmm.
ripped them off. Metal nipple clamps and just ripped them off. I didn't know what the fuck was gonna happen. I literally crying. It
Mm-hmm.
literally, they got it, you know? It made it into Taboo, a magazine, you know? Because
Yeah.
it was real, right? But I didn't feel good about that. I felt like it really hurt me. Like I didn't know that it was
Yeah.
gonna be like that. I didn't like that, you know?
Right.
And I told them afterwards, I didn't like that. That hurt me. And they were
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, we're sorry. Like next time we'll just use the plastic ones." And I was like, "Yes, thank you," you know?
Mm-hmm.
And but I work with FM Concepts and American Damsels, and it's severe bondage, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
where we're pretending like we're kidnapped and all kinds of stuff like that.
Right.
But on that set, I have a lady there right there at all times with the
Mm-hmm.
scissors, with this. If I'm hogtied, if I'm this or I'm that, she's keeping
Mm-hmm.
track of how long my arms have been behind me. She's
Right.
constantly coming up and you know, squeezing my arms and saying, can you feel good? Is there any tingling? You
Yeah.
know, those things that keep you comfortable, right? Because when you're in
Yeah.
BDM, when you're in subspace,
Mm-hmm.
it's very dangerous. You
Mm-hmm.
know, anything could happen to you, right?
Yeah.
When you're in subspace, your anxiety, all of your other senses are through the roof.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're doing. You're submitting your whole thing, right? So I have to
Mm-hmm.
be able to trust you that you're not
Right.
going to come up to me, touch me, fondle me, molest me while
Yeah.
I'm like this. And that's been happening on some really well-known bondage sites. And
Yeah.
that's what I want to say. Like, if you're going to try and be into fetish work, you have to really do your research. New
Mm-hmm.
girls, if if your agent is trying to book you for somebody, please look up those sites. My
Mm-hmm.
agent always expressed to me, he would always send me the link to who I was working with.
Mm-hmm.
He would always say what they're wanting me to do. And he'd say, "Are you okay with this? Would you like to
Right.
work with them?"
Yeah.
And that is so valuable. I know some agents
Yes.
lie, you know, they send girls to clients and say it's going to be a set, and because there's a camera there, they're shooting a scene,
Yeah.
you know? Those are dangerous. If your agent is doing that, leave that agency. Like
Yeah.
that is not safe. Safety
Right.
is key. If your agent won't walk you up to the door and stand there and wait with you,
Mm-hmm.
don't do it. Don't
Yeah.
trust it. You know what I mean? That's where it comes. Like people want to be signed to agencies because they have a big
The
name or
name.
they're popular. You know what I mean? But if
Mm-hmm.
they're that big name and they're popular, they're probably only focusing and really care about those main ones because that's who's
Mm-hmm.
making the money. So something that might happen to the little girl, it's just nothing to them.
Yeah.
And it's
Right.
so sad, you know?
Yes.
So
100%.
sad.
And I had someone approach me and be like, "Oh, well, you would be great for this part." And I was like, "Okay, well, I always travel with my security. Like I always have a person with me because one,
What if something happens?
yes,
Yeah.
I have my own issues. I've had my own trauma and I've got past my trauma. But the thing is, I don't want more trauma. I want my experiences to be positive." And this person was like, "Oh yeah, well, we don't do that." And I'm like, "What do you mean you don't do that?" "Oh, well, we can't have someone else in the room." And I was like, why not?" And they were like, oh, well, it's because the person may not perform. And I was like, well, then I don't need to fucking be there. Like
if he can perform in front of all the light guys, in front of all the camera guys,
Mhm.
my security can face the wall and not look at them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Like, 'cause, you know, some people are like, there's a difference between bringing security and bringing a boyfriend on set.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But if your
Mhm.
partner is okay with what you're doing and that's your security, that's
Yeah.
your security.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. And if she says, hey, I need this in order to do my best work so I can feel comfortable,
Mhm.
so I can feel safe,
Yeah, feel safe.
why would that ever be a problem? If anyone ever gives you pushback on that and that seems like a problem, that's a red flag, major
100%.
red flag. Exactly like you
100%.
said, don't work for them. Don't allow someone to
Yeah,
say,
no.
no, you're not allowed to protect yourself. Actually, you have to just come here willy-nilly and risk
Mhm.
it all. Risk it for
Mhm.
the biscuit, baby.
Yeah, I was like, well, I'm not interested at this. I don't think I'll ever be interested because unless someone changes, like
And cough.
who who would want to be involved in that knowing that there's some kind of potential trauma? And the situation that I was in, the only person that was going to be there, it was a small producer. It was him and a female. Well, that would be an issue for me because why can this woman be there and then not my security? Like you can have one person there, but I can't have one person there.
And she
Like,
wasn't in the film. She wasn't going
yeah,
to be in the
no.
film. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
no.
problem.
That
That's the problem.
says
That's 2 against 1. What if something happens to me? What
yeah.
if, you know, like I don't have anyone who's going to defend me? What if you've raped me? And she's like, no, you didn't.
Mhm.
I was there.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that.
It's an issue.
There's no amount of money that could cover that for me. Well, I'm gonna say maybe like if you throw $1 billion at me, I would kind of consider it. I would kind of consider it. $1 billion, okay, I'm gonna kind of consider it. But other than that, no, I'm good.
That is hilarious. Oh my God.
So, have you yourself experienced any kind of situations that made you feel like you weren't safe on set?
Let me think. I don't really think I've actually had any onset issues. Like, luckily I've been like safe. I've seen behavior like on
Right.
set that's not okay. I've been given a muscle relaxer to finish a scene one time,
Mhm.
and because I was in pain, and I
Mhm.
think that was an issue that I didn't see as an issue until now. You know, they should have
Right.
allowed me just to go home.
Yeah.
Like, I've had, let's see, I've seen and I've done scenes with people who were obviously on drugs, and they've had me say, like, at the end that no one was on drugs when I knew,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah.
I've had a scene where my partner was so spaced out on drugs that I had to hold his body up and move myself, and they just made it to where you couldn't see his face, you know? Uh, that was probably the most traumatic thing that I've had to do because
Yeah.
I felt like, what the fuck? Why are y'all making me do this? This person is literally sleeping, you know?
Yeah.
This person
Like
is like just sitting there going in and out, like looking like they're about to die type of
that's
thing.
fucking, oh my goodness. That
And
is fucking borderline rape. Like what the fuck?
yeah, and at the end I had to say that nothing happened on set that made me feel anyway, and it did, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I've never been like raped on scene or anything
Mm-hmm.
like that. Um, but I have been put in very uncomfortable situations that now, if I was the person I am now, would not have been okay
Right.
with.
Yeah.
But I was younger. I mean, I've done scenes that don't go with my morals. Like,
Mhm.
whenever I was younger, I was just taking scenes regardless of the role I was playing.
Right.
And now, whenever I think about it, it makes my stomach hurt because I'm playing into like the abuse I suffered from my stepfather,
Yes.
you know? And so, whenever I think about it makes me want to cry. Whenever I think
Yeah.
about that, I did scenes pretending to be somebody's stepdaughter, you know, and I'm
Yeah.
like, whoa, you know, I wish I never did that because I was that
Mhm.
stepdaughter that
Mhm.
was having that shit happen to. And am I feeding into the narrative to make people think that that's okay?
Yeah, the normalization of it. Like,
You know, like, sometimes it makes me wonder, like, did my stepdad think that this was okay because he saw that on porn?
yeah.
You know, maybe that was, he was thinking like that was okay. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
trying to make excuses for what happened to
Right.
me,
100%.
you know, but now that I'm older and I think about the choices that I've made and the roles that I played, I'm like, that's not conscious porn. That's dangerous porn.
Yeah.
These themes that we're playing into this stepbrother, mommy stuff, it really, people are really affected by that, like,
Mhm.
on a daily.
Yeah.
And
I can't do anything that says stepbrother, stepsister. Like, I can't go anywhere near that shit because I had that happen to me whenever I was younger. I had family members that were like siblings to me that literally fucking raped and molested me. And I just can't do that shit. So people are like, oh, well, it's just pretend. It's not fucking pretend because you're playing on my past trauma. Like,
mhm,
it's cool if that's what you like, whatever. I don't mind like mommy daddy roles, whatever, because I don't have abuse related to that. But whenever it comes to that other shit, they're like, oh, well, you can just do it just to help me get off this one time, like clients that message you. And I'm like, yeah, no, I don't offer that. I was like, I can refer you to somebody that does, but I don't do
yeah,
that shit. So stop trying to push me to do it because you shouldn't be
yeah,
pushing anybody, whether you're talking to them on a keyboard or you're talking to them through a phone or you're in person. You should not be pushing anyone's boundaries. They have that boundary for a reason, you know?
exactly. Yeah. That's why I think a lot of things have to be talked about within our industry. I think that's also why we're constantly being attacked by anti-porn people because they're
Yeah.
like, yo, y'all are making videos that are dangerous to society. You're making videos that make people think that this is okay. You know, if somebody stumbles across a video, you know, and that's how they think sex is supposed to be, and then they go do that, and then somebody thinks that they got raped or that they got hurt because
Yeah.
that person thought that that was normal, and they
Yeah.
didn't know about the consent, you know?
And
Like,
that's
on
my
the
biggest thing. Nobody talks about the consent before and after. Like, where is the negotiations? Where is the aftercare? Like, throw some of that shit in there so
like,
they know.
for example, I shoot with American Damsels and FM
Mhm.
Concepts and Lorelei. Um, when you shoot with them, because I told you it's extreme bondage, it's
Right.
extreme. There's always a video, and we're like, "Hey, I'm Leah Gotti. Today, I consented to being tied up with ropes, this, and this,
Mhm.
and this position, this position, and I wanted to do this." You know,
Yeah.
and in their video, they put that in the video. They also put a
Yeah.
disclaimer. Every act that you see was consented to. And that's
Yes.
important. That's very
Yes.
important.
I
Like,
love
it
it.
don't so what? It's 10 seconds of your video to put a little disclaimer. When you go to the
Yeah.
movies, they have 30 minutes of credits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they have to say what's this is happening, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, half the time when you're on a bondage site, you're not being tied up by your partner, someone's there tying you up.
Yes.
And that's also important to know. Tied by somebody professional. Do
Mhm.
not attempt without knowledge. You could
Right.
kill somebody. Like, you
Yeah.
could make somebody like permanently have nerve damage. You know,
Mhm.
you could be playing with saran wrap and accidentally go over their face and they suffocate, you
Yeah.
know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That doesn't get talked about. And people are like, oh, babe, you want to spice it up in the bedroom? And then
Mhm.
you hear on the news, BDSM couple, blah, blah,
Oh,
blah, you know, and you're like, okay.
listen. I remember whenever 50 Shades of Grey come out and everybody thought that that was just the hottest, kinkiest thing that they had ever seen. All these housewives that never got exposed to anything and these guys that, don't have any experience. I was like, this is not how BDSM works. This is fucking abuse that you guys are witnessing, for one. And two, if you knew anything about the life, then you would know it looks nothing like this shit. Because I read the books myself to see, what they were about. And then I tried to watch a few minutes of the movie and I was like, yeah, no, I don't know why anybody would want to watch this.
That movie is crazy because she never once consented to any of it.
Yes.
He never said, "Do you want this?"
Yes.
Or, he would say it in like in the movie, he was saying it in leading ways.
You
Like
want this,
basically,
don't you?
you want this, don't you? Not, is this okay if we do this? And the verbiage, that's the verbiage that we're going back to. That's dangerous.
Rape
because
culture. That's fucking rape
yes,
culture.
literally, it is. It's fucking wild, dude.
And
then
I noticed that a lot in the book too. It was one of those, well, I'm not the kind of person that's going to be like, oh, well, I have an opinion about this and I don't do my research. So even though, I didn't necessarily like that shit, I was going to watch it because how can I tell you an opinion about something that I don't have any information about, that I didn't research myself? You know what I mean?
yes.
So I did get experience with that shit, but it's so that I could inform other people. Like, clearly the person in this book has been abused by multiple people in his past. He never got over his trauma and he's abusive to other people. Like, that's not okay. You're just continuing the abuse cycle. Like, that's not a good thing. That's not a good way to teach people.
In
to
the
get into
show,
community.
he's saying that he was molested by an older lady his whole life.
Yeah.
He was groomed his whole life.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, it's not okay. Grooming is not okay. Submitting people into dangerous acts without their consent, without prepping them, without explaining, without just regard for their safety. Like,
yeah.
Whoa, dangerous.
Yeah. And I remember having that discussion with so many people, and I'm like trying to tell them, well, this might excite you for a second because you don't really know the life, but I'm going to tell you that this is abuse. And they're like, what do you mean this is abuse? She liked it. And I was like, do you know that? Did she say that? Because I don't remember her saying that. I remember her being excited, but there's a difference in consenting and being excited, because that's the body's natural reaction. Even whenever you're being raped or molested, your body can still have these natural reactions. Just like whenever I was a child and I was molested, whenever I was fucking raped, my body was doing things to make them think that I liked it, because that's what a fucking body does.
Yeah.
Like, there are certain situations where you can't give consent. Like, you remember earlier whenever we were talking about subspace, when you're in subspace, there are some people that want to take advantage of you because your mind is altered. You can't consent at that point because you're impaired.
You're already submitted. You've already submitted yourself to being immobilized. You've already submitted yourself to being in the hands of whoever's the dominance, That's wild.
Yeah. So, Leah, let's kind of talk about how long you've been in the industry. So I know you were on the 5-year hiatus. So, like, collectively, how long have you been in?
I think collectively, like 3 years. Like 3 years of running action. Because I did take the break.
Okay. And whenever you were on the break, did you do anything at all associated with sex work, or was it just kind of on the back burner, like you didn't want anything to do with it?
No, I was not allowed. I was in an abusive relationship. I didn't have my own phone. I didn't have a job. Like, whenever I first left, I went back to Texas and I was working jobs. Thank God one of my cross country coaches gave me a job at the country club, and that was going good until people started realizing who I was.
Yeah.
And then that's when shit got sticky. And then, I ended up getting pregnant, and I ended up living with him and I didn't have my independence. I was being abused mentally and physically for like 4.5 years, like just trying to make the person that I was with think I was good enough to be, I don't know, shown off, be proud to have, all of these things. I even went on a Christian talk show to be like, look, I don't do porn anymore. I'm not bad. Like, please forgive me, God. I was working normal jobs. I was even working in a factory.
Mhm.
Like I was working on it like in a factory where I was what are those Cascade pods?
Oh, yeah, the
And
casting.
I was pregnant and I was standing
Mhm.
there all day just putting pods into a box. And I'd
Mhm.
leave smelling so badly of chemical, you know. And then I even worked at
That shit is
another,
dangerous.
yeah, and I was working at another one. And they were trying to refuse me to have bathroom breaks. And I walked out and they were trying to physically keep me in there. And I was like, fuck out of my way, you know?
Yeah.
I was working for, I was selling vacuums door to door type of thing. Like I was a
Mhm.
sushi chef. I got into bartending and that's what I was really good at. I loved
Mhm.
bartending. I did craft cocktails and I was doing like really fun jobs and that's where I was
Mhm.
making a lot of money. But then I started realizing people who were hiring me knew who I was, but they weren't telling me. And then I'd
Yeah.
have people coming up to the bar and being like, "What's up, Leah?" And I'm like scared now. I
Yeah.
don't feel safe now. You know what I mean?
Right.
I feel like I the spot's been blown up basically. I feel like I've been
Yeah.
exposed. Like I didn't
Right.
tell these people I didn't come to work as Leah. Like I came to work as Reagan. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
I came to work as my civilian self. I'm
Right.
trying my best to do what's good,
Right.
good. Like even after I got out of that relationship, I was in Texas and I met my husband, who my husband now, whenever
Mhm.
he met me, I was still in a hiatus. I still
Right.
was hiding. Uh, I was working for a nice rooftop bar and the lady found out who I was.
Mhm.
And the next day I go and I get transferred to like some Mexican restaurant where I'm not dressed cute. I'm wearing like a button-up shirt and like having to be something that I didn't want to be. I
Right.
went like going from making like $1,000 a day from my tips to going to make me work at a restaurant where I'm going to be making like nothing because you don't want me there, you know,
Mhm.
making up lies. Like there's so many videos I have on my phone, like just hysterically crying because I kept getting Dude, I kept getting mistreated in normal
Mhm.
workspaces, even though I was coming
Yeah.
there. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't fucking people. I wasn't showing
Right.
my pussy to my people that I was serving. Like I wasn't
Yeah.
doing any porn things. They
Right.
just didn't want anyone to know that a porn star worked there. You
Yeah.
know, and my husband and his manager, because my husband is a musician, were just like, "You have nothing to be ashamed of." And that was the
Mhm.
first time somebody ever said that to me. Literally,
Yeah.
someone that I valued really close to me that I cared about,
Yeah.
said like, fuck that.
Right.
So I just was like, cool, I'm rebranding Leah. I'm taking back the ownership. There were so many fake pages. There's still thousands of fake pages of me. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is my voice. This is who I am. I don't have to be ashamed of this. What I'm
Yeah.
doing is not a problem. What I've done is not a problem. Fuck
Right.
anybody who ever made me feel that way. Fuck
Yeah.
myself for allowing myself to be depressed for fucking 5 years.
Yeah.
Like it was just like a big wake up call. And it was crazy because all it took was someone that I cared about saying, "Hey, we don't care if you do this. We'll love you no matter what."
Yeah.
That's a
Fucking
big
right.
deal.
Fucking right. It is.
Yeah.
Like everybody needs somebody like that in their corner. And I'm so fucking sorry that you had to go through all that shit to find your diamond, but I'm so fucking glad you found your diamond.
Hey, what is that one song? Every long lost dream. The broken
Yeah.
road, that song. That's
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah.
Literally, every broken dream, literally, every uncomfortable situation, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
every fuck up, every L is literally
Yeah.
just taking you to something bigger and better. If you're learning from
Yes.
those experiences,
Right. 100%.
if you're really learning from them, processing them,
Mhm.
understanding and realizing your part and realizing like actually that's not me, that was them,
Right.
that's their own problem. Like
Yeah.
what I'm doing, who I am, that's for me. And if somebody has a
Mm-hmm.
problem with me being me, they're not for me.
That's right.
Even if they're your
100%.
blood, even if it's your fucking mom, even if it's your
Yep.
sisters, if it's your best friend from kindergarten, and
Mm-hmm.
if they are ashamed of you, if they make you feel less than, literally cut them off.
Yes.
Like, you have no place in my life. If you don't agree with me, if you don't like what I'm doing, fuck you.
Yeah.
Because
And
Fuck
it's different
you.
if it's one of those situations where you're like not safe and you're doing all this like risky shit, like you're staying coked up or some kind of crazy shit. That's a little different. Maybe they want to be like, oh well, I'm just concerned about your safety. That's
Exactly. They
different.
ask. They say,
Yeah.
"Are you okay? Is there anything I
Yeah.
can do to help you?" Not, "You need to
Right.
stop working for them. You need to stop
Yeah.
doing porn. You bad girl." You know,
Yeah.
like, no,
And it's fucking
you're going to hell
exhausting.
because you suck dick. Like, bitch, you suck dick for Taco Bell. Come on.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my goodness. I have said the same shit.
it's like, okay, I did it on camera, but you're literally going and fucking people. You're literally going and cheating on your husband, but you think I'm so shameful because I consented to have sex on camera. I got paid thousands of dollars. I'm not fucking every random person. I'm not on Tinder having a fucking Tinder date every day. You know what I mean? I'm like, what's the difference? There is no, in my opinion, there's no difference. Like, if I want to fuck X, Y, and Z, and you want to fuck X, Y, and Z, I'm not calling you and saying, "Oh, girl, you might really want to go repent because you've had quite a few Tinder dates last few months."
Yeah.
Like, what? Nobody would say that. But, oh, she sucked dick. Oh, she eats pussy. Oh, she's fucking the devil.
The crazy shit is I see that from the client's perspective too. Like all these people that are like, oh, well, I don't pay for pussy. Yeah, motherfucker, you do. Because if you take someone on a date, if you bought someone flowers, if you brought candy home to someone, you picked up someone in your car, because you know, gas money and all this shit, you're paying for fucking pussy. I don't care if you're spending $8.99 for someone's OnlyFans or you're taking someone on a fucking date. You're paying for pussy, bitch.
Literally, you're paying for dick too. Like, I paid for dick. I paid for my man to get this. I paid for my man to get that. Like, it's all an exchange of energy. That's what it all boils down to. Who cares? If I'm consenting to say, hey, I want to lay with this person, I want to lay with them.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, just like you, just like the regular people in the streets, like if they go out and get fucking drunk and they want to go home with a random Susie Q or a random Frank, you know, they're doing it. You don't know if that person has an STD. You don't know if that person has a history of rape. You don't know if that's a serial killer. You don't know who the fuck that is. You know what I mean?
But at least these people are tested. Well, they fucking should be tested. Anybody that doesn't test their people on set, you don't need to fucking be there. Let me tell you.
People also have been lots of big companies. That's what I wanted to say. Lots of big companies have been letting the performers who have big names still shoot with dirty tests and lying for them. There's a really big popular girl. I don't know if she'd be okay with me saying her name, so I'm just gonna briefly talk about her. A girl who is very well known in the industry, extremely well known in the industry, was gonna come back, do a gangbang scene. She was very specific on needing everybody to be tested within 48 hours, you know? And they knew people weren't, and she ended up getting some shit. She immediately went home. Her shit was burning. She was on fire. Like, and that company is a major company. Like, major.
Oh my goodness. That is fucking ridiculous.
And I know major girls who have won major awards for being crowned like the girl of the year, going to set with that shit in her throat, going to set with COVID, going to set, like, I've heard it. I've heard girls admitting, like, I'm still going, you know? I've heard girls say, don't worry, it's not BV, I'm just ovulating. Bitch, what? Go douche. Let me see. If you keep creaming out your pussy and it stinks and it looks like bad, you had that and you're trying to give to someone, you know?
Holy fuck.
Happening.
And like, not just are you damaging your body, but someone else's too. Like, it's not just you in this equation. You know what I mean?
Also, like, I think people forget, especially girls, if you are getting more than one STD a year, they're not understanding the effects that has on their body. That could make you sterile. That could cause permanent damage to your body. You could get an STD, and because you've had it multiple times, it could attack your immune system and you could actually die. Yeah. If it gets in you too bad. You know what I mean? If you're getting triple shot, right? If you all of a sudden you have gonorrhea, then you get chlamydia at the same time. That is so dangerous. Getting shots of penicillin and taking antibiotics all the time, that's gonna
Mhm.
cause you to have other issues like UTIs and really, but you could get gallbladder stones, you could get kidney stones, you could get damage in your body because those pills are
Yeah.
so hard to digest and like they're
Mhm.
really, really damaging on your body. And
Yes.
people just don't have the knowledge. Some people think it's a joke, like
Mhm.
I have an STD, like like no. I know whenever I was in the industry, never got an STD, except for the one time I had sex outside of the industry.
Mhm.
So I made it a promise. If I'm actively shooting in this industry, I am not having sex with anyone other than my husband, you know? Or if I am going to have sex with someone outside, they have to have a test 24 hours
Yeah.
before I meet them.
Yes.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? That's
100%.
it's that simple. If you're someone who is in the industry and you're escorting, it's your responsibility to keep everybody else in our industry safe.
Yeah.
You should be using condoms. You should be using tests. You should be explaining to your clients, this is why you have to go pay for a full panel test. This is why you have to get an anal
Mhm.
swab. And if you don't want to do that, then you cannot fuck me.
Yes.
Not, oh, I'm
100%.
gonna go fuck this guy because I won $1,000 in a Louis bag.
Mhm.
Like, ew. That behavior is dangerous. That behavior is disgusting. It's
And it might
implorable.
seem like it's a lot of money, but whenever you factor in all those health prices that you're going to have to pay, it's not a lot of money.
And I hate to say that so many people in this industry don't even have health insurance.
Mhm.
They can be making thousands of dollars every day, but they don't have health insurance. They don't have retirement set up. They don't have these
Yeah.
things that are so very important, you
Right.
know? And those are other things that are not being talked about when girls get into the industry and they start having so much money and they've never had that before. When guys are getting into the
Mhm.
industry and they're getting so much money and they've never had that before, nobody's telling you, like, dude, you need to be making sure you're saving up for taxes. There's been lots of porn stars who've even
Yeah.
been arrested for tax evasion. They probably had no fucking clue that they had to do that.
Yeah.
Because I had no fucking clue I had to do that. I'm just
Yeah.
now barely understanding taxes and I'm 25.
Yeah.
So it's like, whoa.
Yeah. And it's a lot to take in because you become an entrepreneur. You are literally a contractor. You're working for yourself. And not only do you have to do those taxes, but you're going to have to pay in more taxes. Did you guys know that? Entrepreneurs and contractors have to pay in more taxes.
I think I'm
So
26. Actually, I told you the wrong age. Brain fart. I turned 26.
it's okay. It's okay. It happens.
I don't
So
ever tell anybody how old I am anymore.
you can be
18.
whatever age you want to be.
I'm 18. Actually, I'm 54. What do you think about the
Yeah.
skin?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That reminds me, I was actually at the dentist a little while ago and the lady's like, "Oh, well, have you thought about braces?" And I was like, "Yeah, I thought about braces, but I have to wait. Like it's in my plan. It's just not here
Not
yet."
today.
Yeah. And she's like, "Well, your insurance will cover it until you're 21." And I'm like, "I'm 31." And she's like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, my skin's expensive."
That's good. You're like, I'll take it.
Yeah. Thanks for the compliment though. So,
That's
so,
good.
of course we like those compliments, whenever you get
Yeah.
ID'd. When you're younger, you're like, "Oh, why are you IDing me?"
I'm
And then when
old
you get
enough,
older,
bitch.
yeah, when you get older, you're like, "Take it."
Literally.
So kind of we talked a lot about kind of letting people have an eye into the industry and how some people are dishonest, and it's not anything to do with the industry. It's literally that person, what kind of ethics, what kind of morals do they have as an individual? Because I'm going to tell you, there's some great people in the industry too, but it's a
There
matter of
are.
finding those people.
It's just like anything in life. Like
Mhm.
when you go out to a club, right? There's a lot of good people in there, but you're still going to be standoffish because there's a lot of dangerous people in there.
Yes.
When you go into a working and it's your first day on the job, you're going to go in there a little cautious. You're not going to go in there and tell Susie, like, oh, I just smoked a fat joint before I came in here,
Yeah.
because she might
Yeah.
go and be like, that person's a drug addict. We need to fire them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's just like that. When you go somewhere, you have to observe how people are acting.
Mhm.
You have to be on
Yeah.
your best behavior. You have to just be aware
Mhm.
and and take notes. Take notes of how people are acting and look at those little tiny micro expressions, you know?
Yeah.
When you're talking, and pay attention to the things that they're talking about. If they're talking
Mhm.
about things that make you feel uncomfortable, and it's the first time you met them, and they're that comfortable, those are the
Yeah.
dangerous ones, because if they're that comfortable already, the next time it's gonna be more. The next time after that, it's gonna be, and so forth.
Mhm. Yeah, and there could always be that escalation that you can't come back from, and you don't want to put yourself in that situation.
Right. Right.
So, if you could talk to your younger self about being a porn star, what would you tell them? What kind of
Aw.
guidelines or tips?
Why is that making me emotional? Geez. Don't be afraid to be yourself, right?
Mhm.
Never allow anybody to push you to do something that you're uncomfortable doing. Never be afraid to speak up. Know that there are things in place to protect you, and if the people around you aren't protecting you, then get around people who will. If just like
Mhm.
that saying, if somebody's telling you no, you're in the wrong place. You're asking the wrong person. If someone's making you feel scared, somebody's making you feel anything, leave immediately. Who cares if they say she ruined the whole set? Who gives a fuck? Do
Yeah.
it. Protect yourself, because nobody's going to protect you unless you demand protection for yourself.
Yeah.
That's what I tell myself. Be brave.
Yeah.
Be strong. Be you. Be yourself. Don't ever try to pretend to be the perfect, star. Just be
Mhm.
you. Don't do things that make you feel less than. Don't let anybody make you feel less than.
Yes. I
Yeah.
fucking love it. I fucking love it. So, I just got a couple more questions for you because I know you have a lot going on and I don't want to keep you. So, one of my questions is about your limits. So, whenever you are looking for some kind of set, some kind of scene, what are the things that you absolutely don't want a part of? So, hard and soft limits.
Hard and soft limits. Hard limits. I'm never doing any sibling or parent play.
Mhm.
Soft. I don't like to be hit in the face. I don't want to be
Mhm.
punched in the stomach.
Mhm.
Um, little things like that. I'm pretty much down for anything as long as we talk about it and you say, this is what we're going to be doing. It's
Right.
just my hard no's are people trying to get me to do things that I've already said
Mhm.
no to doing.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I think everybody should kind of follow suit with that one because at the end of the day, you don't have to live with the person that's trying to pressure you, but you do have to live with yourself.
And you do have
So,
to live with it being on the internet forever and people thinking that
yeah.
you're okay with that.
Yeah. And it could reoccur later. If they see you do it and they're like, oh, well, you did it in this scene, they don't know all the stipulations and everything
And
that happened.
if they say that, then say, yes, I did that. That's not aligning with who I am. And
Yes.
I don't like the way that video made me feel. I don't like the way that
Yes.
act made me feel. And
Mm-hmm.
if they don't respect that, they don't respect you and you don't need to be there.
100%. 100%. So, my last question for you is going to be about your personal screenings. So I know that you do your self booking now. You don't have an agent, so you kind of book yourself. So whenever you're reaching out to people and you're trying to make something happen for work, what do you look for? What makes you want to work with a company?
Honestly, I just remember the people who treated me like royalty, and that's who I reach out to. I'll never work for a company that I feel like doesn't have my best interest at heart. If I've
Mhm.
seen a company uh continuously turn a blind eye and continuously pushing narratives that make me feel like it's dangerous, I won't do it. I won't even
Mhm.
associate myself. I trust from the bottom of my heart like four people: Jackie St. James, legend, Will Dynamite, and Dean Capture.
Mhm.
If I see those people working with people, I know the people they're working with are good, right? I
Right.
can I can trust
Yeah.
their judgment. And
Yeah.
I can trust that if they think that I shouldn't be getting close to somebody, or that person might be a little bit dangerous for me, I know that they'll tell me. I can
Yeah.
trust that they'll protect me. and I'm very standoffish, and that's okay. It takes a lot for me to feel comfortable enough to be like, okay, I'm gonna go there.
Right.
So I pay attention to how people interact. I'll go to the websites, I'll read the comments, I'll watch the scenes, I'll see what the girls look like, I'll check the girls' pages, see how they're acting. And I feel like that's really good. Like, you have to do your research. It's like I'm saying, my agent always made sure that he sent us the pages, right? We always did our own research. We always made sure that who we were going to work with was something that we wanted to be a part of. He always made sure we had the scripts beforehand. He always made sure we knew what we were going to do, right? And really checking in with myself and saying, all right, this is what I'm going to be okay with doing, and this is what I'm not going to be okay with doing, and sticking to that, regardless of an amount of money. Because at the end of the day, even if somebody pays you a lot of money to do something that you don't feel good with, subconsciously, it's going to affect you. Subconsciously, you're going to feel like you were used regardless if the money was bigger or not. And we learn that so often from these girls who have been coerced mid-scene, or these males who've been pushed to do things mid-scene that weren't talked about later on, causes them feeling depression, anxiety,
It leads
nervous.
some people to drugs.
Yes,
Alcohol,
suicide.
drinking
Literally,
shit away.
that's when it gets dangerous, because you start pretending like you don't care. You start pretending like you don't have feelings. You don't have an on and off switch. You aren't checking in with who you truly are, who you are in your moral compass, you know? And that's when it gets sticky. It happened to me whenever I first came into the world. I got a big ass fucking head because I was going boom. Like, I was blowing up. I was number one on Pornhub. I was all this shit, right? And then I forgot who I truly was. I forgot what I truly believed in. I forgot where the fuck I came from. I forgot all the things that I don't like about the world, and I was playing into them. And it really, really, it still to this day bothers me, you know? So, and there's nothing you can do about it because it's there. You just have to
you
try.
Can't go back and erase it.
Right. All you can do now, moving forward, is, like I said, do your best to rebrand to who you are consciously, and do your best to treat people with respect. Do your best to not use your fans, to not catfish your fans, to not manipulate people into giving you money, because not all money is good money, and karma is real. It literally is. So you keep pretending, and you keep having people running your pages, and then you're developing relationships with your fans, and say that fan comes up to you at a convention and they say some of the stuff that they've been talking about, and you're like, what? And you completely shatter that person, completely destroy that person, because they were so vulnerable with who they thought was you, but it was really Tom, your friend, messaging them, and you don't give a fuck because you're like, fuck that, it's just, you're paying my bills. That's when it gets bad. That's when it gets dangerous, because we're forgetting that people have feelings. We're forgetting that we're human, and that this all is happening. Yeah, we are the main reason. We're a main part, but we would be nothing without our fans. We would be nothing if people didn't pay to consume the art we're making. We would have nothing if we were just out here fucking on camera and people didn't want to see it. You know?
Yeah, 100%.
And that's just what it is. I feel like you just have to. People really just need to sit down, write down how they feel, think about what they want to do. Like, that's what I did. Who am I? For a long time, I was like, who the fuck am I?
Right.
You know, I don't know who I am. Some, like, for my whole 20s, I didn't know who the fuck I was, because from 18 to, you know, that I was pretending to be what I thought people wanted me to be.
Right.
And I don't have to do that, because each performer is unique in its own way. You know, that's what's cool. You don't have to pretend to be a character. Your character is you. Just because you're using an alias, that's just to protect your privacy. You know what I mean? You could do porn and use your real name. Nobody says you can't, you know? It's just really, really, really staying true, like, to who you are, making sure you feel good, constantly checking in with yourself, talking to people about how you're feeling. Therapy. You need therapy. You know, Pineapple Support helps a lot of sex workers. They give you discounted rates. Like, I just now finished my 12 sessions with them, and I kept my therapist because she's literally helped me make leaps and bounds, you know? And I feel like in this line of work, you should really have to have that good support system, like we were talking about in the beginning.
Yes.
So to
100%.
surround yourself with people who are strong, surround yourself with women who are, and men who align with what you believe in, you know?
Yeah,
And
make you
don't
feel
work with somebody,
empowered.
right? Don't work with somebody just because they have 1 million followers or because they have awards and accolades that you want. You know what I mean? You don't know what they had to do to get those awards.
Yeah.
You do not know what you had to, you know, they might had a someone that
Yeah.
they didn't get paid, you know?
Yeah.
Stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
It's happened, you know? So
Right.
just remember that even if you don't have an award, even if you don't have a top 10 ranking on Pornhub, you're still getting paid pretty much the same as everybody else. You're
Yeah.
still doing the same work as everybody else. So, you know, don't pay attention to that stuff. Pay attention to you. Pay attention to how
Yeah.
you're feeling and
Right.
and stay to that.
Yeah.
Never
Grow
veer
your
from
own
that.
brand.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because your fans, they will like it when you're your authentic self, when you're really you know?
Right.
It's unrealistic to think that every girl in there are bimbo porn stars. That's a thing. But it's
Yep.
unrealistic to believe that everyone is that way. That you could just walk up to me on the street, pull my pants down and fuck me and I'd be like, ah! You know? That's not who I am. That's not what I believe in.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make a scene that makes it seem like I'm okay with that. Because I don't want people thinking that. Because I still have people
Right.
like one time I did an interview and they're like, "What's your fantasy?" And I just made up something so off top of the wall, right? That's not really real. I just wanted a wow factor.
Right. Yeah.
But my fans still talk about it this day, and I have to be like, "Oh, I didn't really mean that. I was just on some alcohol, and I felt like getting some attention and going viral." Right? Exactly. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And I feel like that's one of those things where people are pressured into it. Like, yeah, you're here, but you could be bigger if you could figure out how to get there.
You got to
And
do more. You got to do this. You got to
yeah.
do that. You don't.
Yeah.
You do not.
And the time that I've spent in sex work, the majority of it is networking. It's literally
is.
who you know.
The game of chess.
Yeah. So it's literally, yeah, you could be grinding for 10 years and never make anything like where you want to be if you have those big, like, I want to be #1 on Pornhub. Like, you could literally be working at that for 10 years and it not happen. But part of that isn't because you're not good enough or because your art isn't amazing. It's literally because you don't know the right people, because you don't have
No.
enough eyes.
And let me just remind you and remind anybody who thinks of any of those rankings. Every website has different rankings, and at no point on any of those sites are the rankings matching the other sites.
Right.
And if you have a line of work and you have a field that you play in, you could never compare yourself to a contracted star who's working for companies with billions of followers because the masses are there, the numbers are there.
Yeah.
You know, doesn't mean that they're any
Exactly.
better than you or you're any less than them. You know, don't worry about the rankings. Don't worry about that shit because guess what? Their rates do not increase because of their ranking increasing. Mainstream companies, it's all about negotiation. And I know some of these girls, their rates are lower than mine. And you know, and that's just it. Your rate is your rate. If somebody doesn't want to pay it, fuck them.
Right.
Don't do it. Reiterate that. If you have a rate and that is your rate, that is your rate. Do not allow anybody to tell you that your work is worth any less than what you believe it is. Period.
100%. 100%. I fucking love it. And I know that I said I only had 2 more questions, but I really want to know about your hoodie.
Yes, this is my friend Scooby's hoodie. He is all about like making sure that nobody's being bullied, like getting the depression, like taking out these words from our life, saying I'm depressed, saying I have anxiety, saying attaching these words to you, right? Attaching these things to you. Take them out. We're scratching that shit out. There's no place for bullying. There's no place for depression. There's no place for disability. Everybody, everything, fear, all that shit. Put it out the window. Because as soon as you start thinking, I'm not. I'm healthy. I'm happy. I'm solid. Nobody can bully me into feeling less than. If that person's bullying me, it's a reflection of who they are. That's not me. You know, it all starts to change once you start to realize that people are just reflecting their feelings onto you. You know, as long as you believe who you are and you have your truth and you have what you believe in, that's it. And that's all that matters. And it really makes a big difference when you actually truly believe and practice it. When you believe, like, I'm doing good towards people, I'll never harm anyone. Nobody's going to try to harm you. Most of the time, they'll try to run away from you. You know, they'll be scared of you because you're strong.
Yes. Oh my goodness. And I think that's a lot of the issues with the general public too. So they cast us out because they don't understand us, because they see the empowerment and they don't have that themselves. So one, in a sense, they covet it, and two, they don't understand it. So instead of being like, where does this power come from? I want that for myself. They're like, oh, well, let me run from that and try to kind of let everyone else think that that is a bad thing and I need to avoid it. And they need to too, because they're scared of how you got there. They don't understand the time, the effort, the therapy, and everything, all the empowerment that we get from the industry. They're just like, oh, well, I don't understand it. And on some level, I'm going to just let it feed to the traditions that I've been taught. So I feel like that's a lot of the reason that just civilians, just regular civilians, view us as a bad thing.
Yeah, they do. But that's okay, because we're going to continue to do what we want. We're going to continue to change the narrative. We're going to continue to push that we're good people. And eventually, just like over time, we have been starting to get praise from mainstream. You know what I mean? It will get better. It's just slowly. It's a slow process.
Like everything else. Yeah.
And it takes masses to make changes, you know?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. 100%. I fucking love it. I fucking love it. Well, thank you so much, Leah, for being so fucking amazing. Everybody today, remember, go on over to her Twitter. Again, all the links are in the bio. She conveniently has them there for you.
Yes.
moreleahplease.com is where you want to be.
Yes.
But thank you so much for your time today, Leah. And thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Forbidden Depths.
Thank you, Queen.
You're so welcome.
Bye.
Hey, it's Queen Frostbitten again, your host. I just want to remind you that you can follow us on YouTube at Forbidden Depths. That's FORBIDDENDEPTHS. Or over on Twitter at the number 4 BIDDENDPODCAST. Remember to always stay educated, consensual, and safe. We'll see you on the next show.